I hope I'm audible and visible to the audience. First of all, my apologies. I had to come back from the airport because of my sickness. Yes, I was really looking forward to meeting all of you after a gap of such a long time. Thank you, Jason and Disha, for setting the stage. In fact, what happens is that now presentation has lesser elements than the talk between us. But nevertheless, as the agenda for every meeting goes, we have a presentation as well. Like Disha spoke about, I have almost actually exactly 3 decades of experience, and out of which 19 so just to set the context, what I speak, I am speaking with practical experience and what comes to peers and friends like work with fertilizer, comes to FMCG, retail, build material, and initially it's been after. So just starting to context, in fact, this word is, I want to share my presentation and then so just to give you a very small PT, in fact, if I say that automation of manufacturing, I think it's cool as a word because for decades together, we've been involved in this Kata, DCS. I think, is my voice equal?
No, it's fine, Jitendra. You can go on.
Fine. So with all these automations in place and instrumentation department doing their fair bit of job, it's actually what needs to be looked at is that can we digitalize this? Automation is not an option. And even whatever digitalization was not an option today, it is a necessity. So we dive a little deeper into why is it required, how we can actually pursue it, do any tools, and then very use cases where it is actually delivered. So to begin with, why do we need this? Digital manufacturing instead of building automation, which is connected to your machine and then getting the data transfer. We see them start up already storing, collecting that data with you. And on a post-facto basis, we review those things also. And whenever you had breakdowns, outages, or need to find something, you go back to those historical data and arrive at decision. So, why it is needed? When I talk about efficiency, these two figures are very important to digital manufacturing. We talk about efficiency with respect to how fast, in how real time, how accurately we can arrive at an inference which is beneficial for the production, for the quality, for time to market, and also takes care of the other energy efficiencies. Looking at this all, especially which of the resources available. So these three pillars, the time to market, of course, in a home to nuclear cement and fertilizer. In which region? I need to be connected very well. Am I audible? Sorry, I'll keep on asking this question. This is virtual mode. So, the time to market. And last but not the least, today, when we look at the sustainability aspect of it, we celebrate Earth Hour also. For years, we've been doing that. We've been doing corporate social responsibilities. We owe a responsibility towards our future generation. CSR, if I may use my own definition, was more or less actually confined to that what are we contributing to today. But what about the future? What kind of a planet are we going to hand over to our future generations? So that ESG comes into place. And that is where those 17 pillars of sustainability goals, which play a very, very important role. All 17 in one single shot, any manufacturing can achieve it. I have my own set of doubts. But yes, we can actually work towards it, and which we are. I'll explain it to you in subsequent slides. So, and please keep writing down your questions and giving it to Diksha so that she can pose those questions to me if at all are there.
Sure.
Uh, the barriers for digital transformation. We spoke about digital transformation is now a necessity. We don't have an option to be relevant in the market. We need that. But what are those visible barriers actually? The cost, of course, becomes a major criteria, but that becomes secondary when we get into the ROI factor of it. ROI is much, much superior than the cost involved into it. So the business case is that uh, conservatively speaking, about 50 to 60% of us do not have a clear cut business case, except for very few equipments here and there, wherein we know that yes, if I apply digital practices here, it will yield me results. It's more of a POC, it's more of a piloting, and then moving forward, or becoming wiser by experience through the experienced people who've done it earlier. Like there are always digital leaders and laggards, and laggards is not a bad word here. Sometimes it's not necessary to be a leader there. Like banking sector, digital leader, but they are not manufacturing. Pharmaceutical, of course, should be a digital leader. Then FMCG, yes, mid tier of a digital leader we have. So we should be actually wiser by their experience itself. Now, then what happens is legacy systems and processes also play a very major role in becoming a um, used to of using those systems for so long that we don't want change. And it's not about resistance. Each one of us would like to actually grow forward. I'm talking on behalf of my manufacturing team members. But what happens is that this comfort zone stops us from actually adopting new. And there is a little bit of fear also that something is running smooth for 20 years or ages together. Why should I change it now? Then, of course, data issues are there, except for historian data, except for whatever is there in DCS and SCADA. Other data which we've been manually entering, including the logbooks, is slightly tricky. I don't know to what extent it is good, and how fast and how reliable it is for me to take quicker decisions. Then, of course, digital skill shortage. We are at, in fact, in a transition zone. I call it a twilight zone, wherein we are transitioning from non-digital to a digital literate manpower. One side we have 100% digitally literate manpower. One side we have people who were not exposed to digital earlier, and we are in that twilight zone wherein this transition is happening. I cannot remove the older ones, or I cannot induct all the newer ones in one go. So I need to strike a balance between those two. Then the short-term targets. Uh, I have a very appropriate Hindi line for this कि अभी जो market में चाहिए वो दे दो ना पहले. Why are we thinking on this futuristic thing? अब मैं plant चलाऊं या business चलाऊं या आपके इसको digital को देखूं? This statement often came to me some 7-8 years back, in fact. Then, of course, employee training. When I spoke about digital skill shortage, the only way to address that is employee training and changing their mindset. Now, coming back on the right hand side to the technical investment kind of a thing, there are security concerns. We know that commercial systems are much, much prone and have been actually a victim of ransomware, virus attacks, and all those things. And fortunately, the operational technology, the OT part of it, we've been able to condone it or secure it from the outside world. But now, with digitalization, it has to be connected to the internet. With an IoT in place, the data has to go into the cloud. So we need to take care of that security as well.
Then integration difficulty. Now, I spoke about OT, I spoke about IT. How about having these two things integrating with each other, wherein the leadership team can actually arrive at a decision based on the commercial aspect of the manufacturing glitch or commercial aspect of the manufacturing goodies which we've implemented. These systems somewhere have to integrate. Then comes the IT plus OT. Interoperability, various vendors, like for one particular device, equipment, let me give a very generic word, boiler, silos, godowns, supply chain. We have different vendors. Then interoperability is also one of those concerns. That how do we talk about integration between our own system? How about the outside systems? Then vendor sustainability, with digital being explored and experimented to a very large extent. Am I dealing with the right kind of a vendor? Am I dealing with a vendor who can sustain themselves in the market tomorrow? Because I cannot actually play with the sustainability or foundation of the core of my industry. And of course, there are legal and compliances effect also. To give you a very small example, the pollution control data today goes on a real-time basis using the network through the SIM also, so at some places, and it's being monitored. So those are compliances also which we need to have in place to move forward. So these were few barriers of digital transformation. And I would suggest one thing. In the last slide, you have my email ID. Please feel free to write to me if you have some more. I'll be thankful to you all. Now, how do we achieve this digital? So barriers I have spoken about. But is there a way out? Yes, of course, and we've been doing that for long. First is we need to do a due diligence of our own respective industry, manufacturing space, and the organization which we are working for. Where are we? What stage we are? Are we at a stage wherein we need to introduce digital to the team? Are we at a stage wherein people are extensively using digital but integration is issue? Or are we at a stage wherein we can actually move to a futuristic technology which are still emerging? So that discussion has to start today. Then, of course, learning and development, the digital DNA needs to be maintained. I need to move away from my Excel sheets, from my manual sheets, from my verbal communications, like the shift engineer or a site in charge speaking on over a phone that this is what is happening, what do I do? We need to keep logging that data as well today. So that digital DNA has to be there in the system today. And we, as the IT leaders, and of course the OT leaders also, I'm talking on behalf of both instrumentation and the IT team and the digital team. We have a responsibility of training people, making them good at there. Now, adapting to new technologies, of course, some kind of experimentation we also need to do at our pace. Okay, so this also we need to be very careful of. I'll be a little faster because I know we have a time constraint there. Then base decision, like I spoke in point number 2, developing a digital DNA. By not only picking up phone and talking about, few years back we had a similar problem and we did this, so let us experiment with that. I should have a core data available with me. What exactly happened? Did we have a previous instance? Is anybody else there in the market who can actually provide me with that information? Part of it would be the time to respond and correct those concerns which are emerging in real time. So not based on feelings, based on data, we need to be taking decisions. And of course, tomorrow that decision, 50% of that can come through a artificial intelligence and machine learning mechanism, wherein the standard decision can be taken by the machine itself and then react. Because manual decision again would be slightly time consuming, not as time consuming as what I spoke about verbal communication, but this would be requirement. So these are the few steps which I wanted to mention that for digital transformation, what is the path to do that? Now, if I move to what could be the quick wins, the first question comes in from this. Okay, we'll do that, or we'll actually maybe document this, or we'll try this. We'll discuss this with our leadership team, our CEOs and MDs. What next? So we need to have some quick wins to gain confidence of our manufacturing team, our leadership, and the people around. The first and foremost, which I see is a low-hanging fruit, energy efficiency. And if I can quote an example for the last 3 industries I've worked on, energy efficiency to a tune of 1 to 1.5% yields millions. So this is something which is very, very promising, very easy, fairly easy to implement. In fact, for that matter, if at all we do nothing and we just balance the power requirement from the government grid, from the captive power, and how much downtime would be there in between, that itself yields about 0.5% of energy efficiency to me. So that this is the one low hanging fruit. Eliminating the idle time, which is the communication time or the time consumed between the decision made and the implementation on the equipment. That is the ideal time wherein people are mulling over the idea, looking into the past, looking into the logbook, looking into the history, and then trying out, acha, acha, let's try this. So that can be eliminated. Now, proactive preventive maintenance is something like this is actually futuristic step, but initially what we can do is we can start logging in preventive maintenance. We can log in the walk by inspection module. We can give it on a mobile to my shift engineers so that wherever they are on an equipment using a barcode, they scan it, they find out what has been the efficiency of this equipment. When was the last time I did a preventive maintenance was there? What is the condition monitored today? How soon can I do the preventive maintenance? How much I can reduce the downtime? This is actually a low hanging fruit and a very, very beneficial one. Then of course you'll see I'm not talking about only machinery. The manufacturing also involves the efficient supply chain, which is in plant logistics. I'll speak in detail about for about 5 minutes in later stage. Then manpower management. Am I actually making a good use of my manpower? During the pandemic, in fact, we learned one more thing, that with the use of artificial intelligent CCTV mechanism, I can find where am I having grouping, where the distancing is not being measured, where am I having fight scene. People, with due respects and apologies, some people taking a nap also, we could find that is in fact as well. The idle time of manpower is also tracked there. So, and this is not inspecting actually, it is actually effective monitoring. Virtual monitoring, I have had a very good example myself when we were setting up a new plant with the use of augmented reality goggles and a small application. I could have my specialist sitting in Finland directing my single person at the machine to fine tune it. This was through the AR. And information exchange, of course. I spoke about IT, OT, and the other interoperability things. Without that, we will not be able to reap the benefits of digital manufacturing. Now, having said that, with quick wins, the considerations which has to go in, I said that we can do this, but how? Capturing data from maximum equipment. This again can be done in three modes. One is 100% buying in equipment which is digital oriented. Second is putting up high-end systems which integrate all these equipments through good sensors. Third is, which is least we can do, going in for a very low cost sensors which emanates data and helps me collate it at a central server place. And all of us, sorry for this typo here, the machinery, it's machinery actually, machinery, not machinery. But this is what I meant when I said capturing data. Then you already have some data available with you in the form of SCADA, DCS data from the historian, you can take that always. Integration with commercial systems, of course, unless I know what kind of cost, what kind of benefits, what kind of losses I'll incur if I don't do this or if I do this. So that integration has to play a very, very important role. Information security, needless to mention, it's a requirement. In fact, this has to be one of those foundations. Learning and development. If I implement a system and if my people do not know how to use it, it's nothing less than a technical implementation, and we should not be actually claiming any kind of accolades on that. Unless my business is using it, it's no good. Of course, MIS and analytics for the plant heads, the manufacturing heads, the CEOs, they should be actually able to take out a decision out of it. Now, I'll take specific cases like IoT in supply chain. I'll share the presentation with all of you, so you don't need to actually go deeper into it. The uh, point here is that 35% reduction in losses because of manual errors. I'll give my example itself. Within in-plant logistics, now I have a clear visibility of what kind of vehicle is entering my yard, how much time it is actually taking from yard to gate in, to a manless weighment, to a manless loading station, to a manless diverter, to an automated bag counting, to a manless gross weight again, and to a manless invoice generation, and finally at the gate out, one person sitting there and handing it over to them. And from there, the GPS takes over. So, how does it bring in efficiency to me? One is when I say manless, it's not reduction in manpower. It's basically bringing in accuracy. The payment is accurate. The placement of vehicle is accurate at my loading station, at my packing station. The counting of bag is accurate. The diversion from one loader, you can have various diverters working on. That's accurate. Fine tuning is done. Everything is accurate. Everything is accurate. I'll be speaking about much more about this also. This is a very generic slide, but yes, of course, uh, we have implemented bidding also real time marketplace to the transporters to in fact find out the best freight. And when I speak about reducing the timeline or the turnaround time, the transporters are equally encouraged to actually deploy their vehicles with me, especially whenever there is a demand in high in the market. The availability of vehicle plays a very, very, very important role. So this cyber supply chain helps me there. Then my route planning helps me there. Then how much time the vehicle has been actually standing idle during the transit. How much time, the expected time of arrival, that ETA helps my dealer to estimate that yes, their consignment is about to arrive, and hence there is no loss of sales. Supply chain risk analytics, if I do not supply at a particular depot, at a particular dealer, at a particular retailer, if I do not have vehicle in my place, what is the kind of loss I am going to incur? That modeling, that solver earlier we used to use, now there is a real-time heuristics and linear programming solution going on. This helps me in fine-tuning my own logistics and supply chain. And of course, the right-hand side is nothing but a pictorial representation of what it goes around this. Now, I'm talking about preventive maintenance about the key drivers for it. Uh, Preventive maintenance, if I ask my preventive maintenance cell to do a preventive maintenance based on the age, the condition monitoring, which I am gathering through my logbooks, that can also happen. How about having a proactive mode of it? How about shift engineer having a mobile in their hand and say that, look, this machine needs investigation and fine tuning further, or maybe preventive maintenance before the schedule, or we can further go for another month or so and not take the downtime, and maybe with along with other equipments we can do that. Synchronization between the maintenance value chain is having the appropriate kind of equipment and devices and spare part inventory in my stores, to placing an order to my vendor so that the inventory is maintained appropriately, to maintain an inventory what is actually needed instead of having excess inventory or a lesser inventory there, right? And adjusting for plant's unique needs would be, so to say, if I have a plant which is remotely located, the lead time for a supplier to supply a particular equipment which is critical to my plant running takes 30 days, for example. I need to have a at least order placed at least 35 days beforehand. Can I do it automatically based on my inventory availability? Can I actually at least not do it, alert my leadership team to do it? Can I raise an alarm over the condition of the equipment, the inventory availability, and the lead time? That kind of a cohesive workspace has to evolve now if it's already not there. If I'm going fast, Diksha, you can tell me. I'll be more than happy to go slow or faster for that.
Hello? I think it's going okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can continue.
fine,
This.
fine.
Yeah.
Sorry. So now talking about the next step, digital twin. This is, in fact, this is not a low-hanging fruit. You need to have a lot of discussions, deliberations, and envisioning, creating a roadmap. But yes, this of course helps tremendously in any organization, starting from commodity to the most dynamic manufacturing organizations. Digital twin is something which yields tremendous results, which I have seen myself. I am in process of implementing, by the way, but for the newer plants, yes, we are working on it on a very aggressive note. For a not so new plant, we take some time to do that. So the cost reduction, how? So certain tasks can be done virtually, and in fact, I can instruct the digital twin, and that task can be taken care, if at all, without a manpower, that can be done. Then future risks, the digital twin actually proactively tells me, like I said, the walk by inspection module by a manual engineer can be triggered. The digital twin can trigger it, can do that job on your behalf. Time to market, of course, whatever is available in my warehouse, whatever is in the process, what I need to manufacture, and accordingly ordering the raw material and all those things. And of course, having the equipment inventory in place, having the rotating equipment also in place. If I have 4 or 5 plants in a closer vicinity, can I have a one equipment which is expensive in nature can at one place, and accordingly I can react with that. Predictive maintenance, I spoke a lot about it. Let me not repeat that. In fact, better team collaboration. Digital twin actually ensures that all relevant people get the appropriate message in time, sometimes before time as well. And of course, remote monitoring. Today, as we speak, in for a few of my plants, not 100% of them, I'll be honest with you all, instrumentation head or the unit head can remotely have a look at what is actually happening, not with the help of only CCTV cameras, which again are artificially intelligent in my case, but through the sensors, through the data collected on a real time basis. And they get an alert. Earlier, remember, if some of you are more than 2 decades senior in this, or maybe in some newer places also, unit head used to have those red and green bulbs in their room. So now that has been replaced by the dashboards. That's the digital transformation we're talking about. Now, digital twin is one case. IoT is, of course, the sensor. How does it actually accentuate the digital twin implementation? Like I said, that digital twin is a newer technology, inexpensive solutioning, which needs investment. So to begin with, you can start with actually getting that data into a place where you can create a pseudo digital twin kind of a place. And then yes, you can, of course, take it forward. And once you show the ROI, uh, the board would be more than happy to invest in that because they see a real time actual ROI coming out of it. It'll no more be a theoretical in place. Now, but having said that, digital twin is very important, very good, beneficial, and all those ROIs I've spoken about, IoT I've spoken about. What needs to be done to get that done in place? Training, of course, the middle one first, I'll talk about. Then updating that data and security protocols. I am actually slightly saddened with, and in fact, urge if I have the instrumentation OEMs also listening to me, let us upgrade our systems as fast as possible. Not in my case, at least. Yes, of course, 1 or 2 machines could still be there. There are still servers running on Windows NT and Windows 2003 servers. Believe me, this is going to be a biggest security concern. And despite of having all security parametering in place, we are still vulnerable because of these upgrade to be yet to be happening. So, in fact, and other CIOs, CDOs, and digital leaders, I'll request that please take it up with your instrumentation team and show them the threats which is there, not to scare them, but to update them. Then, of course, managing quality of data. It will automatically get done if I have the automation of data capturing. If as long as I'm depending on a manual data, we are always prone to some errors. And what kind of data is we should not be actually, we talk about unorganized data also. So there are two segments, organized and unorganized, but unorganized data also needs to be done. We need to make sure that we are not collecting junk. So these are the certain parameters which we need to be aware of before moving forward. And now, critical piece. This is just a display slide for all of you. Those 17 goals, sustainability goals, which are internationally taking center stage today. So I'll not dive deeper into any of these, but yes, few of them all of us can work on. Something like quality education, good health and well being, gender equality, diversity, of course, we are all working on, quality education, surrounding areas. You must have noticed most of our plants, except for certain exceptions, that too are now getting closed because they are in the vicinity of metros. So are in actually remote places. So we owe a responsibility to our citizen around also to provide them employment, to provide them sustainability with respect to education, clean, healthy environment, good water, sanitization, right? And if possible, energy requirements also we fill in there. So to speak about it, we focus on four essential goals on this. The water conservation, of course, and as we speak today, I'm proud to say that my organization is from the manufacturing side 300% water positive. And feel free to question me back on that how can you be 300% positive? You can be 100% when you are saving that water or maybe recycling that water. But we are creating resources to generate more water, store more water. Green energy, as we speak, three of my plants are having solar energy units near to our plants, and we have a lesser dependence on fossil fuel today. With the lesser dependence on fossil fuel, the CO2 emission, of course, we are blamed. I would not say 100% wrong, I would not say 100% right as well. For some strange reasons, commodity industry, manufacturing is blamed for maximum CO2 emission, which actually is happening the other way around. It's maybe let me not cite it out. Then the waste reduction. Now, how does this happen? First is making use, or rather, generating less and less waste, which helps you actually save money. Making use of that existing waste also in some form of the another. And third is, can I recycle waste of some other organization? Like if I tell you, we as we speak are for the last 1.5 years been using alternate fuels as the bio waste. Also, I'm using as a fuel for energy. So this is where in this sustainability goals are we are addressing now. Now, having spoken all of this and practical examples, and whatever I spoke till this moment is something which I've done that and in process of doing it to 100%. Minimum 70 to 80% is already there in place for me. So now future directions for digital technology. Cloud platform is a reality. It's a no-brainer actually, because I cannot have ample storage available for all my IoT devices to store millions of bytes of data per second coming into my place. So I need to have a dynamic cloud storage available, which keeps on increasing. But yes, of course, keeping a tab on cost as well. So I need to find out that, and I'll not name here anybody. Feel free to do your own research, experiment. I can add value to your research by giving some pointers. If you need a checklist, I can share that as well. IoT, of course, is a norm today. For a newer thing, we don't even talk about it. It's considered given that without IoT, how is somebody talking about a new equipment or machinery? Then these IoTs, okay, if I speak about what's the basic difference between an earlier microcontroller based PLC or anything device and IoT? IoTs are self sustained, self decision making devices we are talking about. And these can be programmed, scripted, controlled remotely as well. Artificial intelligence, uh, it'll be useless to actually have that kind of a data available and not using artificial intelligence to arrive at a faster, quicker, maybe preemptive decision, making decisions even before the incident occurs. So AI is an integral part of our lives today. Blockchain is pretty futuristic. I'm not talking about cryptocurrencies here. I'm not talking about distributed financial ledger also here. I'm talking about authenticated, validated transactions between two devices, two entities, two systems, two solutions, and two people. That kind of integrity, authenticity can be used having a blockchain in place. So before I start abusing the blockchain or before I speak 100% for the blockchain, we have to understand that how this can help us. Technology is not bad at all. Then, of course, virtual reality. I spoke about the Finland specialist sitting in his country and giving these instructions. Today, the I'm still not taking the name because I have three options available for the glasses and the application running. Through that, there are places wherein my robotic arm can do the job with the help of this augmented reality thing. The virtual reality also takes place. I am actually having a virtual reality based training modules for my people. Then interaction between two places. And if this is not triggering a thought in your mind, again a cliched word today, but yes, we are slowly moving towards a metaverse space wherein digital twin, virtual reality, augmented reality are going to combine, collate, and give us that experience which we need, which will be integral to our lives in manufacturing. So, friends, this was my thoughts, and the idea was to actually share and set an agenda for what we should be looking for with respect to discussions between your peers with each other, with respect to asking me also questions, with respect to writing to me, with respect to talking to your organizer so that the next event could be even more fruitful, or actually nothing but a food for thought for all of us. Where are we heading to? Where we are today? And do we need to really hasten it up? For me, the answer is I guess I'm already late. So that's it. Thank you so much. And I'll keep this slide for some time. My number and email ID is there. So,
If anybody has any questions, you can just raise your hand.
yes,
I'll pass on the mic.
please.
Any questions? Yeah.
Hello. Good morning, sir. Praveen Nair here.
Good morning.
Yeah, so I just would like to touch upon ESG. You have mentioned about reduction of carbon dioxide. Could be a more sensitive
Right.
issue, actually. Talking about digital manufacturing and smart factories, how do you ensure, monitor the carbon dioxide emission ratio in your factory? Means how digitization helps you in that? Basically, the monitoring part.
Perfect question, in fact, because this came to me about a year back when my ESG lead said that, "Hey, sir, from government data we get this." So what happens is that there are parameters like, okay, I'll give you another example. You must have seen certain devices on the road which calculates the pollution parameter and then give us that this much is the air quality index and these were the particulate matter available. Similarly, whatever emissions are happening through my boiler chimney, whatever emissions are happening through my limestone treatment, whatever emissions I am having through during the process of clinkerization. I'm speaking about the uh, cement industry. Speaking about building material, when I mix fly ash oblique fiber is no more there now. When I mix a fly ash, what percentage of fly ash am I mixing there? And what kind of a environment I am actually by burning that, or rather by treating that aerocon or cement blocks, how do I actually fare in front of that? Then there are parameters like when I use artificial, rather alternate fuels, AFR, so to speak. So I am not burning the fossil fuel, which has a standard carbon emission rate. So that's the kind of percentage reduction I'm talking about. Through digital, we have sensors available who give me this kind of data. Was I able to answer your question?
Yeah, yes, sir. It's totally taken. I mean, talking about integration and interoperability between, devices, equipments, and you spoke about vendors, sustainability. The question
Right.
is the standards. These devices works on different standards. They have
Correct.
various integration issues. So how do you tackle those things? And is there anything from the vendor's perspective that you look into? Just you can throw some lights on that kind of.
Of course, of course. Praveen, I must admire that the kind of questions you're raising are real life questions, in fact, not theoretical ones. So, for interoperability, there we should have a checklist handy before we decide upon a solution. Unless there is a monopolistic solution available, we have certain areas like that wherein we are dependent on those, but even then we can ask those questions. Because API integration is a standard today. The future belongs to microservices-based architecture, wherein the information exchange happens, and there are smaller modules which give me that. The operating system and the cloud OS, operating system to the tune of Linux, Unix, Windows, and OS, Mac OS also. So these OS itself, these vendor OEMs are actually making sure that these systems are open to receive and push data to the different systems. If that's not available, believe me, we will have to take a call and say that you are dealing with a legacy system and should ideally avoid that. And of course, security checklist also should be there.
Right, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir, good morning, Mr. Singh. Raghu Okuda here from JSW Cement. I heard you are not well. I hope you're fine, or rather get well soon.
Thank you so much. I'll take another 3-4 days, I guess.
Right. Sir, my question, there are a couple of them. One is you spoke about the supply chain. When you spoke about it, you spoke about the manless, tracking of vehicle gate in to gate out, and then the GPS. Sir, what about the tracing and tracking of inventory at the depot, and how do you manage FIFO at the depot? And how do you curb that, especially in cement? Have you thought about that, or have you done anything around that space?
In fact, for warehouse inventory, we are actually in process of piloting a project which is RFID based, and 95% accuracy I have brought in. The 5% being that whatever RFID tag I was keeping as an example in my car was also tracked because of the high frequency. But otherwise, see what happens is, I spoke about IT plus OT also, Raghu. That plays a very, very important role here. The warehouse is actually directly connected to sales and distribution module of my ERP, which is commercial system. And my in-plant logistics is actually OT, which is diverter, loader, and other things. So somewhere these two systems have to integrate, number one. Second, the inventory tracking is happening through the kind of dispatches we are making and through the kind of in-transit and actually unloading happening at the site. When you talk about FIFO, that today I'm yet to find out a solution for cement, especially gray cement for that matter, for one simple reason. If I stack something today at point 1, and then there is another shipment coming in, it will actually obviously be stored nearer to the door because it will be the second shipment. So, in fact, invariably we end up having a mix of LIFO and FIFO going on.
Right. Right, sir. I've been exploring a solution around that too. So I thought I'll pick your brains on that. Sir, I have another question, which is, if I may.
Sure.
Sir, with regards to, what we are discussing with every other consultancy firms that come in, we're talking about Industry 4.0 and so on. While, all that is fine, we're talking about inventory optimization, downtime reduction, preventive maintenance, and so on. But nowhere we are, it's a distant dream, it seems, when it comes to prescriptive maintenance. So why is that we were kind of, do you have any examples, or do you have some places where you've seen that an end-to-end solutioning around Industry 4.0 has been well executed, rather than just on paper?
Thanks for that question again, Raghu. For orthodox industries, it is a dream actually, but not a far distant dream, because a portion of it is actually already in place. Industry, in fact, now Industry 4.1 and 5 is also in place, including ESG there. But coming back to your question, I have seen that actually happening in real time, and incidentally, Dheeraj and Chandra were also there. This is GE, the aviation wing. So in the aircraft maintenance, I've seen this happening with the help of digital twin.
Okay.
To some extent, in chemical industry, especially hazardous chemical industry, I've seen that happening. And in fact, for that matter, healthcare also. That's not related to manufacturing, but yes, healthcare. Hospitals and certain advanced facilities have this thing in place. So I've seen this practically myself happening. 100% of it, everybody will have a question.
Right, sir.
In fact, so to say, Raghu, let me be honest with everybody here. I will be more than happy to meet that gentleman or a lady who claims that they have achieved ERP in 100%. So we always have some kind of a percentage to improvisation.
Right, right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Raghu. Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I'm Samir Kamat from L&T Electrical and Automation. On this digital journey, on a way forward, you have just mentioned about the blockchain. So I would like to know whether that blockchain concept is really being used in India and how far it will be if we look at the adaptability of blockchain. Are there any applications which are used by the industries in blockchain?
I have many examples, Samir, but I'll give you something which is I am actually implementing, and without getting into details because of my own reasons, I hope we all understand that. I am using blockchain for product authentication, product tracking in one particular value-added product of mine. And that blockchain, again, actually is NFT implemented as well. Samir, could I answer?
Yeah, got it. Because I understand that it requires a lot of.
So we can speak offline if you want. We can speak offline, and I can give you few more details.
Sure.
We should be in fact helping each other. So more than happy to help you there.
Okay, thank you, sir.
One last question in the interest of time.
I hope you've all written down my number and email ID. Please feel free to write as many questions. I'll be more than happy to answer. Yeah, the question, please.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yeah, see, we are into chemical manufacturing, specifically process industry, where solvent plays a major role in my reactor. Okay,
Right.
So specifically like toluene, methanol are the solvents which we use. Okay, the moment the GRN is done, we have a QC for a batch, but the solvent get mixed and there is a recovery of the solvent. So once the solvent is get mixed, so the batch uniqueness get lost. Okay, so in that case, neither the FIFO nor whatever the LIFO doesn't work. Okay, but now it has been a challenge for the internal auditor to address this. Okay.
Okay. Lovely question. I couldn't get your name. You are?
Pardon, sir? I'm Alauddin.
I couldn't get your name.
Alauddin.
Alauddin. In fact, I had the opportunity for working for Jubilant Group, and as we all know that there are 45 odd units in one single site, so we've had these challenges earlier also. Now we have some solution in place, which is basically what happens is that when we ascertain the quality of a product in the form of a raw material when the GRN is created, that is a part of the accounts payable module, so that I can associate penalties, I can associate the quality of the material which I'm receiving, and I can associate the worthiness of the supplier once. Same kind of a parameter is used while creating a recipe for that a particular thing. But when the solvent actually gets mixed up, very valid question, there are real-time sensors available, because see, at the end of the day, nothing is coming out of the outflow in a mixed form. It's getting collated in a tank, then becoming a homogeneous or a heterogeneous mixture, whatever the case may be. So before that, at the funnel itself, if I have those sensors in place, I'll be able to arrive at least 60 to 65% of accuracy, that what kind of potency or efficacy of the material I'm dealing with after going through process once. That's possible now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Alauddin, what?
Yeah, clear. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.